their grade level in, including my teachers. So everybody can put everything in here. So we have a list of who's here. Very nice, thank you. All right, and I would say for sake of time, let's go ahead and get started here. Our guest reader today is Mrs. Hurd. She's got a very fun book. I can't wait to see what you guys think of it. I had not heard of the book until it got on the list here, so this was a new one for me. So, Mrs. Hurd, if you want to spotlight yourself so learners can see you, and I'll let you go ahead and take over.
Sounds good. How is everybody on this Friday early afternoon? We all awake? Okay, so the book I'm going to be reading to you today is called The Hula Hooping Queen.
I knew that book. Mommy told me the name of it.
Oh, are you
Maybe I was a
excited?
bit excited to read it today.
Okay, I hope you enjoy it then. So before we read, there are some vocabulary words that I want us to go through to make sure we all know what's happening in the book. So the first word is smirk. Does anybody know what smirk means? What's a smirk? Can you do it with your face? A smirk is a smug smile. It's like, what does smug mean? What's that mean? Smug? The tough one? Smug is showing excessive pride in yourself. So a lot of pride in yourself. You're feeling smug. Clatter. Who knows what clatter means? Genevieve, you think you know what clatter is?
It's a big, loud noise.
Absolutely. Good
I
job.
heard off of a Santa Claus book.
Yes. So it's a
Yep, me
spontaneous,
too.
which means all of a sudden a rattling sound, a loud noise. Yeah. What about scold? Have you ever been scolded? What does scold mean? I saw Dr. Meyer saying, yeah. So scolding is being reprimanded, which means uh, being being told that you're maybe doing something wrong or you're in trouble, and it's happening angrily. What's nonsense? Genevieve, you know what nonsense means?
It mean it means that you will. I'm trying to remember what it means. Clattering. I can't remember what you said.
Nonsense.
It means you don't make sense.
Yeah. Nonsense is spoken or written words that have no meaning or make no sense.
And crazy.
You might be crazy. All
And
right.
it's
And
crazy.
then we
It's
have
silly.
holler. What does holler mean? If you're being hollered at, what is that? Janair, will you tell me what's hollering?
It's like you're screaming.
Yeah. To shout, yell, cry, or call. Yeah. Hollering is yelling. All right. So we're going to remember what those words mean as we're reading this book, and then we'll talk about our book after. So this is The Hula Hoopin' Queen by Thelma Lynn Gooden, illustrated by Vanessa Brantley Newton. Has anybody read this book before? It's a good one. Okay. Today is the day I'm going to beat Jamara Johnson at hooping. Then I'll be the hula hooping queen of 139th Street. Jamara says she's going to be the queen forever, but last week I almost beat her. I sort through my hoops and pick out my favorite, and then I feel it coming on. The itch, the hula hooping itch. My fingers start snapping, and my feet start tapping. My hips start swinging, and I'm just reaching for a hoop when Mama says, "Girl, don't you even think about it. You know today is Miss Adeline's birthday." Heat washes up over me, and I stamp my foot. Don't get me wrong, I love Miss Adeline. She lives right next door. Miss Adeline took care of Mama when she was little, and she took care of me too. She's like my very own grandmama. But Mama, I burst out, I can't help with Miss Adeline's party. I'm supposed to meet Jamara. Today's the day. Mama stands as still as water in a puddle. She gives me her look. Then she hands me a broom. I sigh loudly and start sweeping. But when Mama's not watching, I push my favorite hoop a little closer to the door with my toe. Mama and I dust every room and scrub down the floors. We polish each window till we can see clear to New Jersey. After that, I peel potatoes while Mama starts mixing up her special double fudge chocolate cake. Kamika, set the oven to 350 degrees, Mama says as she empties the last of the sugar into the mixing bowl. And add sugar to the grocery list. I push the button on the oven and look out the window. It's already getting late. I bet Jamara's telling everyone I'm too scared to hoop her. While the cake bakes, we make up plates of fancy sandwiches. Then Mama slices strawberries and shows me how to make whipped cream. When the timer rings, Mama opens the oven. "Kamika," Mama yells as she checks the oven temperature. "You only set it to 250 degrees. Miss Adeline's birthday cake looks like someone sat on it. Mama says we'll have to start it over." Mama sends me to the store to buy more sugar. On my way out the door, I grab a hoop like I usually do, but when I get outside, I remember that I'm on a mission. Miss Adeline's party will be starting in a couple of hours. Mama has to finish the potato salad, and we still have to make another cake. I don't even twirl my hoop as I hurry down the street. I don't stop to blow kisses to Miss Evelyn or wave to Mr. John in the bakery. I'm coming out of the store when I see Jamara and Portia hooping on the corner of 139th and Broadway. "We thought you weren't coming, Kamika," says Jamara with a smirk. I need to get the sugar back to Mama, but Jamara sounds so smug I can't stand it. "Well, you thought wrong," I tell her. "You ready?" she asks. I was born ready. And then I feel it coming on. The itch. The hula hoopin' itch. "Whoever hoops the longest is the winner," Portia says. As soon as she shouts, "Go," my fingers start snapping and my feet start tapping. My hips start swinging, and I just know I'm going to beat Jamara today. Neighborhood kids crowd around as Jamara and I hoop. Cars honk and slow down. Trucks roar past, throwing up heat and dust from the pavement. Swish, swiggle, swish. Jamara frowns. "You've been practicing some," she says. "That's right, girl." A grin greater than the Brooklyn Bridge stretches across my face. The sun moves between the buildings and the sidewalk starts cooling down, but Jamara and me keep on hooping. I've got donuts for Miss Adeline's party, Mr. John calls as he closes up the bakery. Swish, swiggle. Miss Adeline's cake, I shout. My hoop clatters to the sidewalk. I grab it and the sugar and race up the block. I can hear Jamara laughing behind me. By the time I reach our apartment, Mama is madder than a hornet. Kamika Hayes, she scolds. I'm sorry, Mama. I saw Jamara and... Girl, I don't want to hear that hula hoopin' nonsense. It's too late now. Miss Adeline's already here. You take yourself on into the living room and explain to Miss Adeline why she won't have cake for her birthday. Miss Adeline brought her own music, and she's got it turned up loud. She's sitting and listening to a jazzy blues tune, nodding her head like a spring robin looking for a worm. Hi, Miss Adeline, I say. Happy birthday. Kamika, come here, baby. Give me a kiss. I come in close and kiss Miss Adeline's soft cheek. Then I whisper in her ear, You don't really like cake much, do you? Baby girl, you know I sure do love cake. Chocolate cake with strawberries and real whipped cream on top. She pats my arm. Oh, yes, that is my favorite cake. Ms. Adeline smiles at me. I try to smile back, but my heart is racing as fast as the roller coaster at Coney Island. I can't tell her about the cake just yet. Pretty soon the neighbors start arriving. Miss Evelyn's wearing her Sunday church hat, and Mr. John's all spruced up in a pinstripe suit. Jamara and Portia sashay in with their parents. They're still carrying their hoops from earlier today. Girls, I don't want to see any hoops, says Mama firmly to Jamara and Portia. Okay, Mrs. Hayes, says Jamara. She flashes her big, smirking smile at me. Kamika, you're about done with hoopin' after today, aren't you? I smile right back at her. Don't you bet on it, Jamara. Most of the presents are still unopened when Ms. Adeline says, Well, I do believe it's time for birthday cake. I swallowed hard. Ms. Adeline, I say slowly, we made a cake, but it didn't turn out right. Then we needed more sugar to make another one, but I didn't get the sugar back to Mama in time because I was hooping. I was trying to beat Jamara so I could be the hula hooping queen of 139th Street. It's my fault there isn't any cake. No cake? Says Ms. Adeline, raising her eyebrows. I look over at Jamara. She's spinning one of Mr. John's donuts round and round on her finger like it's a hula hoop. Suddenly, that gives me an idea. I'll be right back, I yell as I race from the room. In the kitchen, I set a chocolate donut on a pretty plate. I add whipped cream and strawberries. Mama comes in to help. I put a candle on top and she lights it. As I carry the donut cake to Ms. Adeline, Mama starts singing Happy Birthday and everyone joins in. The candle glows as bright as the smile on Ms. Adeline's face. Why, this is just about perfect, Ms. Adeline says, taking a bite of her donut birthday cake. Now, Kamika, did you say you were hooping? When I was a girl, I was the best hula hooper on this block. Adeline, don't you start that nonsense, Miss Evelyn says as she marches on over to us. You know very well I was the best. Ms. Adeline looks at me. Baby girl, why don't you bring some hoops on in here and let me show this old girl what she forgot? My eyes find Mama's. She shakes her head, but Miss Adeline's already pushing back chairs to make room. Then she slips a hoop over her head, and right then I know. Miss Adeline's just like me. She's got the itch, the hula hoopin' itch. Her fingers start snapping and her feet start tapping. Her hips start swinging, and before we know it, that hoop is swishing right around Miss Adeline's waist. Then she's got it swinging around her neck. I glance over at Mama and see a smile pooling at her lips in spite of herself. Miss Adeline shimmies the hoop down past her knees. She spins it around her ankle as she hops on one foot, then the other. With the hoop still swishing round and round, Miss Adeline heads for the door. Miss Evelyn grabs one of my hoops and Mr. John grabs another. Even Mama's hips are swinging as the whole party spills out onto the street. Everyone's got the itch, the hula hoopin' itch. Pretty soon, hoops are swishing and swinging all the way down the block. Kamika, this is the best birthday party I've ever had, Miss Adeline hollers. Jamara hoops on over to me. Kamika, she says, I know who the real hula hoopin' queen of 139th Street is. I do too, I say. Jamara settles her hoop around her waist. You ready, Kamika? I was born ready, I say. The sidewalk is cooler than a spring rain, and the streetlights shine like stars. Swish, swiggle, swish. The end. So who do you think was the hula hoopin' queen? Janaire?
Miss Adeline.
Oh, you think it was Miss Adeline? Cammie?
Also agree.
You agree? Genevieve?
Both of them.
Oh, okay. Both of them.
They're both good hula hoopers, so I think they both won.
Yeah, I agree with you. That's a good idea. So after we read the book, I want to talk about how we can make connections to text. So when you are reading a book, it might be easy for you to connect something to yourself. So if you're reading a book and you're able to connect it to your own life experiences, that's called text to self. Then if you are reading a book and it reminds you of another book that you've read, that would be text to text. And the last kind of text connection is text to world. And that's a connection between the text and the events that are happening in the world right now. So today we're going to focus on text to self. And I have some questions for you. Have you ever used a hula hoop? Yeah? You've used a hula hoop? What's hard about hula hooping? What makes hula hooping hard?
Trying to get it to
Raise
swing.
your hand, please. Raise your hand. Genevieve, thank you for raising your hand. What's hard about hula hooping?
What's hard about hula hooping is swinging your waist around it. That's kind of hard for me.
It is.
I can do it, but not for long.
I agree with you. Janaire?
Trying to get it to swing around your waist before you start swinging your waist, trying to get it to start swinging.
So you have to kind of pull it back and push it for it to start?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And
Like
then you gotta keep
you
it
do on the
going.
swing.
Yeah. Yeah. And then you got to keep it going. Oh, I see in the chat Mrs. Roke isn't very good at it. I feel the same way. I feel like I can start it and I can go for a little bit and then it falls. What do you guys think is fun about hula hooping? Even if you're not good at it, do you think you can find something fun in hula hooping? Janae, you want to answer again? What's fun about hula hooping? You're muted. One second. Okay. Anybody else? What's fun about hula hooping?
Mrs. Hurd, I think it's fun because it gives you exercise
Oh, so it gets your body
and
moving.
you get to be with, like, they were with a lot of people, so it's fun to be with friends and everybody doing it.
Yeah. Yeah. Mrs. Roke says in the chat she likes to throw the hoop in the air and catch it. Cool. There's lots of different fun things that you can learn and tricks to do with hula hoops. Cool. Janae?
Like if you think you can't do it, but the joy of figuring out that you can.
Oh, the joy in figuring out that you can do it. I love that. That's your growth mindset talking. All right, next, here's my next connection. You're connecting this to yourself. Do you celebrate birthdays in your family? Yeah? What do you do to celebrate somebody's birthday? Do you throw them a party and bake them a cake? What do you do? Who wants to share? Grace, do you want to tell us what you do in your family? No? You don't celebrate birthdays? Janaire? Janaire, how do you celebrate birthdays?
The same way that you said,
Throw a party and bake a cake?
yeah.
Yeah.
But everything except the cake part. We buy the cake.
Oh, okay, you buy a cake? Nice. Max is saying in the chat, gifts, cake, and party. Love it. That's a great way to celebrate. Grace?
I like baking a cake and making presents.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I don't have much friends, but I do have my dogs and cats.
Yeah. And I'm sure that you celebrate with your family as well.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
for my birthday, Mom and Dad buy my presents.
They buy you presents and do they buy you a cake?
No.
Or make you a cake?
Bake cakes.
Bake a cake.
Very nice. That's a great way to celebrate. Mrs. Ewart says she's your friend. We're all friends here at CPDLF. All right, next, do you know your neighbors? Do you know your neighbors? What kinds of things do you think neighbors can do together? What kind of things can neighbors do?
I don't know because I don't know my neighbors.
You don't know your neighbors. Max says they can talk. Yeah. When I was growing up, I always played with the neighbors. We used to play on our swing sets and we would go in the sandbox and play together. So there's lots of different ways that you can interact with your neighbors. Mrs. Ewart says they have a garden and they share their vegetables with their neighbors. That's a very nice neighborly thing to do. Cool. All right, last question. Last question. How does it feel when you want to do something and an adult tells you no? So in the book, Kamika's mom told her no about hula hooping. How do you feel if you want to do something and you're told no? What do you think or say to yourself? Max says it doesn't feel so great. You guys agree? Genevieve, what did you want to say?
It doesn't feel very nice to do what you want to do when they say no.
Yeah. You want to do what you want to do, and you can't always do that if a grown-up tells you no. That's tough. Janaire cries if she doesn't get what she wants. So,
My mom even shook her head yes.
oh my goodness.
Because she's right beside me. I can see her. She shook her head yes.
Oh my goodness. Well, we can't always do what we want to do if a grown-up tells us no, and we might be kind of upset, but maybe something will work out where you'll get to do what you want to do later on, right? Just like it was a pretty big surprise for Kamika whenever Ms. Adeline wanted to hula hoop. That was exciting. All right. Well, I wanted to say thank you to everybody for joining today. Hope you enjoyed the book, and I'll see you guys later. Happy Read Across America Week.
Boys and girls, I think Mrs. Hurd taught you such a great strategy to use when you're reading, making connections, because when you make connections when you're reading, that helps you remember what you read. So that was such a great strategy to teach them, Mrs. Hurd, because that's a great one. I always do that when I'm reading. I'll say, oh, this reminds me of, or, oh, I read another book that was like that. Or, oh, this reminds me of what I just heard on the news. So that's a great strategy to use. So always remember, readers, remember when you're reading to think about how this relates to your life.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to stop the recording and we will stay on if anybody wants to. And I have to tell you, we had such an amazing week with all of you. I think this was an awesome way to get everybody together to enjoy books, especially since it's Dr. Seuss's birthday it was Dr. Seuss's birthday this week. Janaire, do you have a question?
Yeah,